Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, next we have a knowledge session. He is the youngest senior associate architect at architect Hafeez Contractor, Mumbai. He has dealt with projects of all natures, sizes, and complexity. He's currently handling over 100 million square feet of development across India with the industry's top national and international consultants. He specializes in residential high-rise design and is currently designing many high-rises in the city, including Twin Towers, which are vying to be tallest in the subcontinent. Winner of the IGEN Top 50 Architects of India and Realty Plus 40 Under 40 Young Tycoons of Indian Real Estate. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for architect Nishant Gupta. Can we have a big round of applause for him?
Hi, good evening all. So it's a special moment for me as I'm talking in my own hometown city of Jaipur, and I've done my schooling here, and I'm more than thrilled because I've got my parents here and I've got my best friends also invited to this show. So, and I was thrilled that, let's go to Jaipur and, do a show about, what this kid from Jaipur has done. So I'll be talking about sky housing. Over the years, there's a madness about going tall. There is a madness about bridging earth and sky. But why is this mad rush? Since the ancient times of Babel, the Tower of Babel, to the pyramids that were made, there had been a race for being the tallest. Man's endeavor to go higher and higher. But what's this reason of mad race? And Flankroyd write that 1 mile tall skyscraper may soon be a reality. From the birth of high-rise from Chicago, how the Empire State Building for almost 42 years came on the world's map after the Great Depression. And then the trend continued in US only in Chicago with the Sears Tower. And then it started moving away from the States. And it came to Kuala Lumpur, wherein the twin Petronas towers brought Malaysia to the world's map. And then it shifted to Taipei, and then to the very Dubai Burj Khalifa. What is next? What is the high-rise of future? In order to understand this whole high-rise, people were doing it for pomp and glory and their glorification. If you see the annual 200-meter plus buildings completion in last so many years, you would see the trend from 1960 to 2020, the amount of high-rises that are coming across different cities in the world. Where are they coming about? So these are the top 20 tallest buildings just a couple of years back. And what you saw initially that for 60 years, US was dominating in the high-rise culture. The trend changed, and then only 2 buildings today are in the top 20 high-rise buildings of the world from United States. All the other buildings are not in United States. What was the location? We saw that blue, which used to be North America, once upon a time in 1930, and today is just diminished to 15% of what it used to be. What's happened by function? Now, from function point of view, the office buildings used to be a traditional high-rise building, which has changed now drastically. What used to be 90% of the tall buildings used to be offices. Today, only 40% are offices, and the rest are in the other segment. Now, what's happening in terms of, we talked about location, then we talked about material, then we talked about use, now we'll talk about material. What used to be always steel now is no more steel. So only 10% buildings are made in steel, and all balance 90% are made in composite materials or in concrete. Now, So where are we heading towards with the Indian population migration going up? It's just shooting up. And with the urban demand, we need to build a Chicago every year. That is the kind of housing requirement India has with a growing population and the housing shortage that is going on. The cities are eating into farmlands and the farmlands are eating up into forest. And the recent calamities that we all know about and how things are going, I'm coming to a point where climate change is the most important aspect in our recent times. And with the global warming, in year 1900, this used to be Statue of Liberty, and we don't know by year 2100, this could be Statue of Liberty. With that, humans are plundering the earth with not observing laws of nature. The design solution is only tip of the iceberg. So, do we need cities which are sprawling, eating up our farmlands, expanding in horizontal direction, or do we need cities which are compact and are growing vertically? So we need to be responsible, we need to go taller, we need to have dense compact cities with tiered planning. With just not taking care of environment only, going truly sustainable from the social aspect as well, and not just, again, from the social aspect, in the economic aspect as well. Because you're going high-rise, you need to design intelligently so that every aspect of sustainability is met. Now, if we see the top 50 tallest buildings in India, all these high-rises building, barring one, is from residential use. So, when world over they are doing it for glory, they are doing it for image building, we are doing it for a need. We are doing it for a need of housing people. In cities, as we go, all of them, barring 2, 3, everything in Bombay, which has a highest density, every building which is going tall is residential. So starting from the Imperial Towers that we did, which for longest time, for 15 years, was the tallest in the country. Then, this 42 Kolkata in Chaurangi, again designed by one of my colleagues, was the tallest in the country. To the Dubai Marina, 23 Marina, which was tallest residential building in the world, that was also done by us. To the current tallest building, Minerva, which is again a residential building, is currently designed by us. So those were buildings that were designed by my colleagues, and these are few high-rise building, 200-meter plus, that I'm working on currently, from all these different jewels to Presscon to Transcon to Rustamji, to residential building for Trump, to Marine Drive Gateway Tower, to the these are few projects which are not launched, and in fact the project I am talking about is again not launched. But this is a knowledge sharing session, so I intend to show how the whole process of what we're doing, how we are doing, and then again we are doing residential every day, but then sort of trying a form with residential. And these are multiple options for another building that we are doing in Kolkata. Now, all of them are residential. And this is the attempt for doing a non-residential high-rise. The first one is the assembly building that I was doing with Foster Partners, London, in Amravati, Andhra Pradesh, currently on hold with the government change. The second one was the Central Vista, the Indian Parliament building. We were the finalists, didn't go through, but again was a non-commercial building. And the third, Twin Towers that we were doing tallest, again, the use changed to residential. So what I'm trying to intend is that nobody is doing high rises for any other use but then residential, because that is the demand of our urban areas. So how are we doing these? The thing about IDEC I like is that collaboration of different consultants, different fields, and all experts from different areas. And while we are doing all these high rises, the immediate question, especially when you come to a city like Jaipur, would be what are the threats to these high rises? Of course, earthquake, hurricane, and terrorism. But there's another threat that we feel to high rises, right? So one could be this King Kong getting on top of the tall structures. But then we need an architect to make sure that it is designed in a way so that the King Kong, in first place could come. then we need a client. Otherwise, the King Kong would be on a coconut tree. We need a structural engineer, right, to make sure the project stands. We need a lighting expert who makes sure the building is glowing and could be inviting enough for him to come up here. And of course, we need an expert on services to make sure there's a lot of shit up there. Yeah? So in order to, and not just expert of all the different mechanics, but also an expert on landscape who takes care of the environment, built environment, the softscape of the project. And then came, while talking all this, edging from why we are doing, how we are doing, what happened, and the world got stuck with Corona. And we started, started working from home, and developers got time to rethink about what they were doing. And then we got an opportunity for creating an icon, and this we get a very large job in South Bombay. And then two developers come together, and they said that, okay, we want to, we were thinking of creating the tallest building in the country now, but I think times are not good. So how can we relook at it and do something in a different way? So again, getting on to, as all architects for 2 years, we were all on Zoom, we were all on our iPads and, collaborating between different areas. So we said, okay, you're doing almost 67 plus 12. We were doing a 80-story structure. So we said, okay, what if, you're doing one, it was a composite project with members tower and a sail tower. It's a redevelopment project. Bombay, we have redevelopment project wherein there's an existing society and people rebuild. So the existing society would come into one tower and the other balanced tower would be opened up for sale. And the guys who have a building which was 100 years old, 80 years old, they don't have facilities, they'll be housed into one building and the balance area would be opened up for sale. So you had the members tower here and you had the sale tower here. So we said, okay, in this time of crisis, let's relook at designing it. Let's bring down the heights. So we said, okay, let's bring down the height and add another layer here. And then let's start glorifying it by, you also have to sell the project and then, start glorifying it with a crown and club feature that can happen. So what was 8 flats a floor, now this question mark perhaps comes down and becomes 4 plus 8, and then that's how we were, in a simple arithmetic way trying to, bring down the economy and everything. And then we said, okay, let's distribute it from 8.4 to 6.6 and, all these initial process of, and then bring a club on top. And then we were happy, okay, the project's going well. We started working on the plan and then we started working on, various iterations of how perhaps the project could come about. And each time we were trying to come out with a form because we were reduce the height and, we had a very linear site. So we had a challenge that we were actually forming a wall and we were trying to, get away with it. And we tried many iterations. And then although we were getting economy because, again, a residential high-rise with Indian bylaws is not what we see in the West. Our toilets have to be naturally ventilated, although we are doing, artificial ventilation for toilets. Flats have to be even on a high-rise where buildings are mirrored, flats are mirrored, they have to be Vastu compliant. You still have to use a certain kg of steel to be doing this kind of a structure. So with all that, and your ticket size. So if it is set to, say, 1,250, it cannot be 1,255. So with all these tough constraints, you start designing and everything. So we were doing, and we were, through the process, we said that, okay, this is not achieved. Let's get a break and somehow, make it more compact and create some gap. And the client was not liking what we were showing, and we were also, and then we came with, okay, let's start doing some twin towers, and that's where, things started moving forward. That, okay, we do a twin tower, and then we made few more sketches that, let's start celebrating the crown. Let's start creating a amenity floor in the center that could be, glorified. So we created, we created a concept with 2 towers, and we had a club in the center, which we wanted to, sort of glorify. Now with that, we made many visuals. We started working. Things started to move forward. Then we, sort of combined the towers below, and then on the upper level, 2 towers were going up. And then finally, we were, sort of came with that, all that process, we came to a structure like this. Now, while we are doing this, we said each time we were showing all those options, every design goes through a long journey. And it's, when you're doing a project of, 2,500 crore, things don't, sort of get approved immediately, and it sort of goes through a process. And when you have 2 developers, and then you have 2 developers' son, and then you have 2 project managers, and then you have, so many people in the room, and to sort of get all of them together to, sort of express what you really want to do becomes at times very difficult. So with that, we felt, okay, first we need to sort of concentrate. Now we're getting the project in a right shape. Now let's concentrate more on the form. And not on the colors or the skin. And then that's when we came to a black and white, visuals of this project. And then the project starts coming about that we created a fantastic club. Now this club was on the, if we were to calculate all the parking and everything, it was on the 45th story where we created this nice 20,000 club with triple height volume on both sides. Between the 2 towers. And the building was looking, something like this. Then we had to, you're making a form, what we need to really do is that put a function to it. If you're not putting a function to it, nobody would let you, sort of do a crown like that. So now we did a crown, but we fit in penthouses and then created terraces with it. Because if you do not put those and just make a false facade, ultimately it is going to be chopped off. So with that, again, things started moving on, and a form was finalized, and then we were working on the crown, and then we were working, on different forms that, okay, even though it's a tower, that how can we, sort of express the tower in different ways? The crown, which is in a sliding form, how can we express that in a different way? So we made different modules of, now you still have those penthouses with terracing on top, but then again, we made different options. And the third option got selected because it was pretty dynamic, because each time you're moving around in the city, you start seeing a different angle of this chamfer that is on top. Now, with that, while we were doing it, things were not getting in. The client's logo was this. And if you saw the initial, they were internal facing, and the flats were internal. So we went outwards, and this became a form from there, and it was working well. Then we worked on the podium facades. We started working on the how the skin of the project would be. Would it be beige? Would it be silver? What would it be? And this is how eventually the project is coming about. It's a 300-meter plus 2 residential towers that we are doing. And you still have the club, which is at the intermediate level. And it's basically 2 towers. The central part, we have panoramic apartments. And both these 2 towers on the lower floors have 4 flats each. And then upper floors, it has 2 flats each. And this is how on the Marine Drive, the tower is going to look like. To get a scale of what we are talking here is, I thought we are in Jaipur, so we'll start with Statue Circle, but gets very less. So Hawa Mahal, which is 50 meters, to World Trade Park, which is around 65 meter odd. I Googled it, and I found that 25 Jaipur and one other building was the tallest, which is around 85 meter. To Statue of Unity, which is 185 meter, to the Imperial Towers that I showed you was the tallest, was 256 meter, to the current tallest, which is 300 meters. We are again going 300 plus meters. So again, plus is a question mark, because again, it's a delicate, it's a sensitive number for the other developer to know. So these are other visuals of the towers, wherein you could see that we are having LED lighting that would go and accentuate the form. And then we have whole media mesh on the curved, on the chamfered part, which would project different images at different times. One can program it. So during Independence Day, we can have, during Diwali, we can have, so different, we can animate it. So none of this lighting disturbs the residents. Now again, this is not an office building. This is not a mixed-use building. This is a residence building. So we have to make sure the comfort of residents is taken care, and the project works by itself. Now, in order to tell you the parking that we have is, it goes to almost 54 meters. 45 meters is almost 15 levels of parking it has got. The site is almost, I would say, in terms of FAR, we are 16 FAR on a 1.5 acre site. And we have got all parkings that are in mechanical and partly robotic. We did not want robotic, but the client insisted that we have part of it as robotic, but everything else, balance levels were, through ramp. So in terms of structure, we had to give, 3 interstitial floors. This helped us in structure. It helped us in services for the pressure brake tanks that were coming right under. So this is that total plot area I was talking about, around 1.5 acres. Effective FSI of 16 to around 500 flats and 1,200 car parks. Now, each time, everybody talks about a structure, it is to do with not just the structural engineer, but it has to come from an architect, wherein the building form is in a way that it sort of helps, avoiding torsion from the building and do it in a proper hash format. So it helps us getting a excellent, stability to the building. So those 2 towers that you saw becomes into, we had an expansion joint, which is here. Now converts when after 40th story, the next 30 story go into single towers. So you had 4 flats here, 4 flats here, a central flat. As we go on top, we have two flats on each. At the drop-off level, we had to give tenants. So one side was given to the tenant access. The other side is for the sales access. As we come on the podium top, we created different amenities inside the podium and, sort of maximize getting the pool on that side. And this is the club level, that elevated club level that I was talking about, which is double volume that we had created and would have the lighting scheme that would work something like this. Then we created infinity pool, which would be one of the tallest again. All these things, tallest, I think, may not stay as tallest as we go further in time. But, as a momentary pride, we like to say it, so why not? Yeah. So we had the club levels again. This is how the crown, is coming about. And then, like I said, the most important thing is that any form that we are doing, we put in a function. And this is how we use the terraces and put in function so that tomorrow, even while value engineering, nothing goes out. So with that, this was the different parking system and everything that we have created in multiple, that 15 levels that I was talking about. So it actually means that as tall as your World Trade Park, that's just the parking that we are doing in this building. Now, I'm not too proud of, making podiums with parking, but that's a requirement that, the project has. So we have at ground level, sort of elevated, and that 2 volume is no parking. So you have parking below, and that after that 2 volume, you have the parking above. Then, of course, if you see, it looks like a nice structural form. You're getting a nice hash format. And for all those who understand structure well, you would be shocked that we're doing a 300 plus meter building in 8.5 kg steel per square feet. So that is what excellent structural design can do. For all those who do not understand structure well, any other similar size building would have been at least 12 to 3 kg per square feet. Now, when you're doing a 1 million square feet building and you bring down so much cost by just means of design, just imagine the kind of value engineering you bring to the plot by just doing things in a right way. And so these are all structural drawings. We have raft which is 6 meters deep because, you have the whole foundation coming about. We got good rock at around 17, 18 meters. So the basement is going almost till 14 meters. Of course, the whole ETAB model analysis was done. The wind tunnel analysis was done. And with all these are all period, different structural terms I think I would not bore anyone with. But even while you're doing such a complex structure, you have such a complex site, you have to leave setbacks. You still do parking in a way that, one can sort of easily maneuver through. And those wind analysis was done, and then we, sort of adjusted our parking even by, 6 inches so that we don't lose, like, had this column be thicker on this side, the kind of parking into 15 levels we would have lost. So the whole design was done in a way that the apartments were designed in a way that it could accommodate parking and not vice versa. With that, we had challenges of, we have a tenant building, and this is the kind of shore piling was done, and the anchoring was done, and different challenges that one goes through while you're constructing. So we started constructing, and we had the shore piling, which is to retain the land so that it doesn't slide. So the shore piling was coming all along here, and the moment we got all the shore piling, so the apartments the buildings which were here started showing small cracks. So, which is again, while you're doing such an excavation, you have cracks in the neighborhood building. But then as a precaution, you have to, sort of go. Then immediately everything is settled. We had to change design and move. All the shore piling was done on this particular periphery. We did another layer of shore piling here. So now one layer of shore piling, another layer of shore piling to make sure that all the neighborhood structure, which was just another 8 feet away from the plot boundary, are taken into account. And then again, these are all the logs of how the rock was coming about. And then, you actually dig and understand that when do you find a rock, because that's where your structure goes and stands, and that's where your raft would be. So all the analysis were done accordingly, and everything was taken into account. And these are different analyses. Again, then, because now we are launching the project, we were started deciding how the appearance, how the materiality would be there, from the high performance glass to the cladding that we are going to do, to the large windows based on the wind tunnel analysis and everything, to how the podium is going to come about. So we finally had, this project is going to get launched soon. So I requested the model maker to send in a photograph of the progressive model, but just to get a scale of what is the size of this building. So Harpreet ji helped us and sent this photograph. So thank you. If anybody has any question, I'll like to answer. I was critical to the other guys, so it's time that. All right, thank you.
Your presentation was so good that they don't have any more questions. Please stay on stage, sir. May I please request you? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for that wonderful presentation. May I please call on stage Ricky Mathur from Ricky Mathur Associates to please felicitate architect Nishant Gupta. Can I have you on stage, please?